So guys, this podcast with Dexter and Drew, they go over basically some steps they're going to take as far as production for East versus West to hopefully increase and get more big sponsors in the future and increase the quality of production. And I thought there were some good ideas shared, as well as they shared some other plans. So I'll definitely summarize that for you guys, but I want to play this clip right here.
We are going to start hyping events by sending a team out to cover the top athlete on the east side, the top athlete on the west side. We're going to spend a day in their life. We're going to see them training. We're going to, see what this match means to them. And we're going to get invested. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And we're going to get really invested into their opponent. And then now we have these two freaking sides. We're like, man, I don't want this guy to win. I want this guy to win, or I don't want this guy to lose. Like,
if you guys know the UFC Embedded series, where they basically follow each athlete in their preparation going into the match, this would be kind of like the arm wrestling version of that, which I think is a great idea. I think that's something that would definitely increase the production value going into a match, having that type of content coming out beforehand to hype up the event and build characters so that new fans of the sport can actually understand more about these arm wrestlers and their personalities, not just their abilities on the table. I think having those characters, like you said, is something that will help grow the sport. Not only that, Dexter mentioned another thing that they're planning at East versus West is to do some type of event every single Friday from basically some area of the world that's cooperating with East versus West, having some tournament or some super match to where it's basically sponsored by East versus West in some way, to where everywhere in the world at some point on every single Friday there's some type of arm wrestling event. I think that would be a good way to kind of grow the grassroots of the sport from each region. So I think that's a really good idea. And I'll put the link to this podcast in the description so you can watch for yourself. But let me know in the comment section what you think about that as far as getting more production quality, more content going into matches, and also having events sponsored from smaller leagues across the world, basically to act as like a farm league for East versus West. I think that's a good idea. I mean, if you think about it, like most major sports, such as let's say it's baseball, just to take one example, they have like smaller leagues, single A, double A, triple A, college system, regional, there's always different regional leagues and stuff like that to basically be a group that if the athletes excel there, then they can climb the ranks and they can go into the higher leagues. So it would just bring more exposure for more regions across the world, which I think is good for growing the sport in general. But another thing that they covered, two more things I want to summarize from this podcast, was Dexter said he's going to be doing a weekly podcast every Thursday. So that is something to definitely tune in for as far as updates, because he has a pretty major role in the company. If you guys don't know at this point, him and Robert are basically running the whole show at this point. And we don't really know the status of Engen at this point. There really hasn't been any public updates, but Dexter did give an update somewhat on Baku that it still potentially might happen, but it wouldn't be 2 weeks after the Shaw Classic in August. So it would be at some later date if it still does happen. So it sounds like that is still up in the air. But what do you guys think about those plans to increase production value and some of those ideas? And what suggestions do you have? Definitely leave it in the comment section. I'm curious.